That's what I tell myself when I wake in the dark, when the walls press close and the air tastes like copper and wet stone. 47 days since my last surface shift. 47 days in the sewers beneath Tertius Hive. 47 days of water dripping, machinery grinding, and shadows that move when you're not looking directly at them. But the number feels wrong now. Like a lie I'm telling myself to maintain some connection to linear time. Because down here, in the Underhive's waste processing systems, time doesn't flow the way it does above. Minutes stretch, hours compress. Days blur into one continuous moment of darkness and dripping and the smell of things that shouldn't smell sweet. Let me tell you how I got here. How I became what I am. How the darkness beneath the hive consumed me one drop at a time until I forgot what light felt like. My name is Davron Kest. I'm 31 years old. I was born in Tertius Hive, sub-level 89, in a HAB block designated 89K 4477. My father, Gregor Kest, worked the Factorum lines for 38 years before the lung rot took him. I was 19 when he died, drowning in his own fluids, the Medici having decided a sub-level worker wasn't worth the cost of treatment drugs. I remember his last coherent words. "Don't go lower, Dav. Never go lower than you are now. Always move up." I went lower. Not by choice. Necessity. The Factorum wasn't hiring. The administratum quotas were filled. The only work available was sanitation. Specifically, the deep sewers, the waste processing tunnels that run beneath the inhabited levels, carrying away the effluent of 16 billion souls. They called us tunnel rats. Workers who maintained the ancient systems, cleared blockages, repaired broken pipes, ensured the waste kept flowing downward into the processing plants and recycling facilities. It was dangerous work. Toxic gases, unstable structures, things living in the dark that had evolved from rats and insects into something worse. But it paid. Not well, but enough to afford a HAB unit and corpse starch rations. Enough to survive. I reported to the sanitation depot on sub-level 102 on my first day. The foreman, a man named Vorgel with burn scars covering half his face, looked me over with the expression of someone evaluating meat. "You're thin," he said. "Good. Means you can fit through the narrow passages. You claustrophobic?" "No, sir. You will be." He handed me a rebreather, a helmet with a mounted lamp, and a satchel of basic tools. "Shift is 16 hours. You work with a crew of 6. Your crew boss is Hallen. He'll show you the routes. Don't drink the water. Don't eat anything you find down there. Don't go off alone. And most importantly, if you see something moving in the dark that doesn't belong, you report it immediately and retreat. Understand?" "What kind of things?" Vorgel's scarred face twisted into something that might have been a smile. "Things. Now get to work." The descent took 40 minutes. We climbed down access ladders, rusted metal rungs bolted into ancient stone, each step taking us deeper beneath the hive's inhabited levels. The air grew thicker, warmer, heavy with humidity and the smell of organic decay mixed with chemical waste. My crew consisted of 6 men, including myself. Hallen, the crew boss, was in his 50s, gray-bearded with hands permanently stained black from decades of work. There was Maka, a young man maybe 20 years old, nervous energy and constant fidgeting. Jorik and his brother Toban, identical twins who'd been working the sewers for a decade. And Ren, quiet and withdrawn, who never made eye contact and spoke only when necessary. First rule, Hallen said as we reached the bottom of the ladder and stepped into ankle-deep water, is you stay with the crew. Second rule is you watch your lamp. If your light dies, you stop moving immediately and call out. We come to you. Third rule. He paused, his lamp beam cutting through the darkness to illuminate a tunnel stretching ahead of us. Third rule is you don't acknowledge what you see in the corners. Understand? What do you mean? You'll understand when it happens. Just remember, don't acknowledge it, don't speak to it, don't try to help it. Keep walking. I wanted to ask more questions, but Hallen was already moving, wading through the water with the practiced ease of long familiarity. The rest of us followed. The sewers were a maze. Tunnels branched and intersected in patterns that made no logical sense. Some passages were tall enough to walk upright. Others required crawling on hands and knees through spaces barely wide enough for a human body. The walls were ancient stone, older than the current hive structure, dating back to whatever civilization had occupied this world before the Imperium reclaimed it. Symbols were carved into some walls. Not Imperial Gothic. Something older. Spiral patterns and geometric shapes that hurt to look at too long, that created afterimages when you closed your eyes. Don't stare at those, Hallen warned when he caught me examining a spiral carved deep into the stone. The symbols were here before us. Before the Imperium. Some say they're xenotech. Others say they're just decoration from long-dead inhabitants. Either way, staring at them too long gives you headaches. We worked through the shift in relative silence. The job was straightforward. Identify blockages in the flow, clear them using tools or controlled demolition, repair broken pipes, document damage for the engineering teams above. The work was physical, exhausting, made worse by the heat and humidity and the constant need to watch your footing in water that ranged from ankle-deep to waist-deep. Around hour 8, I saw my first shadow. We were clearing a blockage, accumulated solid waste and debris that had formed a dam across a major flow channel. I was working at the edge of the crew's light, using a pole to break apart compressed material, when I saw movement in my peripheral vision. A figure, human-shaped, standing in a side tunnel about 20 meters away, just at the edge where my lamp's beam faded into darkness. I turned to look directly at it. Nothing. Empty tunnel, just stone walls and water. I turned back to my work. Again, in my peripheral vision, the figure was there. Closer now. Maybe 15 meters away. My heart rate increased. I gripped the pole tighter. "Hallen," I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. "Yeah?" "I see something. In the side tunnel." Silence for a moment. Then, "You looking at it directly?" "No, it's only there when I'm not looking at it." First rule cast. Don't acknowledge it. Keep working. But keep working. I forced myself to focus on the task. Breaking apart the blockage, not looking at the side tunnel, but in my peripheral vision, the figure remained. Watching. Waiting. We finished the blockage clearing and moved on. The figure didn't follow. Or perhaps it did, and I simply couldn't see it anymore. The first shift ended after 16 hours. We climbed back up the access ladders, emerging into the depot where the harsh artificial lights felt like sunlight after so long in darkness. My clothes were soaked, stinking of chemicals and waste. My muscles ached. My head throbbed with a dull pain that centered behind my eyes. Vorgel inspected us with disinterest. "Good work. Cast, you survived your first shift. Congratulations. You're assigned to Hallen's crew permanently. Report back in 8 hours. 8 hours for rest, meals, and sleep. Then back down into the dark. This was my life now. Week 2. I adapted quickly. The human body is remarkably resilient, capable of normalizing even the most abnormal circumstances when survival depends on it. Within a week, I stopped noticing the smell. Within 2 weeks, I stopped flinching at the shadows. The shadows were always there. Figures standing inside tunnels. Movement in the corner of vision. The sense of being watched by something that vanished when you looked directly at it. The crew never discussed it. That was the unspoken protocol. You acknowledged the shadow's existence through your silence, but you never gave them the power of direct recognition. The work continued, clearing blockages, repairing infrastructure, mapping new damage. The sewers were ancient and crumbling, requiring constant maintenance to prevent catastrophic failures that could flood entire sublevels with toxic waste. Around day 12, I noticed changes in Jorik. The twin brothers had always been physically identical. Same height, same build, same facial features. But Jorik was beginning to look different. His shoulders seemed broader, his hands larger. When he reached up to adjust his rebreather, I saw his fingers, longer than I remembered, with an extra joint that created a disturbing flexibility. I mentioned it to Hallen during a rest period, keeping my voice low so Jorik wouldn't overhear. His hands, they're different. Hallen didn't look at me, just continued eating his ration bar, methodical bites, mechanical chewing. Mutation happens down here, the chemicals in the water, the gases in the air, the radiation from old reactors buried in the walls. Bodies change. You'll notice it in yourself eventually. Shouldn't we report it? The medici don't care about tunnel rats. We're already contaminated the moment we take this job. Mutation is expected. Tolerated as long as we can still work. He finally looked at me, his eyes flat and resigned. This is the price, Cast. The hive needs the sewers maintained. We maintain them. Our bodies pay the cost. That's the arrangement. I wanted to argue. To insist there must be regulations, safety protocols, medical oversight. But even as the thoughts formed, I knew they were naive. The Imperium didn't care about workers in the deep sewers. We were components, replaceable. Our suffering was simply the cost of keeping the hive functional. Week 4. The headaches started around day 23. Not the normal pain from exhaustion or dehydration. This was different. A pressure behind my eyes, as if something was trying to push its way into my skull from inside. It came in waves, usually during shifts, intensifying when we worked in certain sections of the sewer. The symbols on the walls seemed to move now when I looked at them. The spirals rotating slowly, the geometric patterns shifting configuration. I knew this wasn't real. Knew it was a hallucination caused by the headaches or the gases or both. But the effect was disturbing nonetheless. Macker started talking about dreams. I dreamed about the tunnels, he said during a rest period, his voice tight with poorly suppressed anxiety. But they were different, bigger, and there was light, not from lamps, but from something glowing in the walls. And I wasn't alone. There were others. Hundreds of them, all working together, building something, and I felt... He paused, struggling for words. I felt happy, like I belonged to something larger than myself, like I was part of a family. Dreams are chemical reactions, Hallen said dismissively. Your brain processing the day's experiences while you sleep means nothing. But I'd had similar dreams. Dreams of tunnels that branched and connected in impossible geometries. Dreams of voices speaking in unison, a chorus of whispers that said, "Welcome home. You are loved. You are needed." Dreams where I wasn't Davron Kest, isolated individual, but part of something collective, something whole. I didn't mention this to the crew. Didn't want to give voice to the fear growing in my gut that something was wrong in these sewers, something beyond normal industrial hazards. Week 6. Ren disappeared on day 38. We were working a deep section, nearly at the lowest accessible level of the sewer system. The tunnels here were older, pre-imperial construction, with walls carved from solid bedrock and surfaces that felt organic despite being stone. Ren had been acting strangely for days, speaking to himself in low whispers, spending too much time staring at the walls, volunteering to scout ahead even when protocol said we stayed together. During a rest period, he simply walked away. One moment he was sitting with the crew eating his ration. The next moment he'd stood up and wandered into a side tunnel, lamp beam bobbing as he moved deeper into darkness. "Ren," Hallen called after him. "Ren, get back here." No response. Just the sound of splashing water as Ren continued deeper into the tunnel. Hallen cursed. "Toban, Maka, with me. We're bringing him back. Rest of you, stay here." They followed Ren's trail for 10 minutes. When they returned, they were alone. "Lost him?" Hallen said, his voice carefully neutral. "Tunnel branches into multiple passages. No way to track which one he took." "We should report this," I said. "Send a search team." "No search teams come down here, Cast. He's gone. We mark him as lost in the records and we move on." "But he could be injured, trapped. We can't just—" "Yes, we can." Hallen's tone was final. "This happens. Tunnel rats go missing. It's part of the job. You accept it or you quit. Those are your options." I wanted to argue, wanted to insist we had a duty to find Ren, to at least try. But I said nothing. Because some part of me, some deep, instinctive part, didn't want to find him. Didn't want to see what might have happened to him in those branching tunnels where the walls felt organic and the shadows watched with patient hunger. We returned to work. Week 8. The soup started appearing around day 50. Not in our rations. Those came from the depot. Standard corpse starch bars and protein paste. This was different. Large pots of warm soup left in various locations throughout the tunnels, sitting on ledges or in alcoves, always still warm when we found them. "Don't touch that," Hallen warned the first time we encountered one. "Don't even get close." "Who's leaving it?" Macker asked. "Don't know. Don't care. Rule is we ignore it and keep moving." But the pots kept appearing, and they smelled incredible. Rich, savory, the scent of real food instead of processed nutrient paste. My mouth watered every time we passed one. My stomach cramped with hunger that went beyond physical need, a craving that felt psychological, almost spiritual. On day 53, Jorik broke the rule. We were resting after a particularly difficult repair job. The pot was sitting on a ledge maybe 3 meters away, steam still rising from its surface. Jorik stared at it for a long moment, then stood and walked over. "Jorik," Hallen said sharply. "Don't." Jorik ignored him. He picked up the ladle sitting next to the pot, scooped out a portion, and drank directly from it. His face transformed. Pure bliss, eyes closing, a sound somewhere between a moan and a sigh escaping his lips. "It's good," he whispered. "It's so good. I can't remember the last time I tasted something this good." "Put it down," Hallen ordered. "Now." Jorik took another drink, and another. Then he set the ladle down and returned to the crew, his expression distant, dreamy. We finished the shift. Jorik seemed fine, worked normally, responded to instructions, showed no immediate ill effects. But that night, he didn't return to the surface with us. "I'm staying down," he said when we reached the access ladder. "Just for the night. I want to explore a bit. Map some of the unmapped sections." "That's against protocol," Hallen said. "I know. I'll face the disciplinary action. But I need to stay." He looked at his brother, at Toban. "Tell them I'll be back for the next shift." Toban hesitated, then nodded. "Be safe." We climbed. Jorik remained below, his lamp beam visible for a few moments before distance and darkness swallowed it. He didn't report for the next shift, or the one after that. On day 56, Vorgul marked him as lost. Toban said nothing, didn't protest, didn't demand a search, just accepted his brother's disappearance with the same flat resignation that seemed to afflict all long-term tunnel rats. Week 10. I started noticing changes in my own body around day 65. My hands were larger. Not dramatically, just a centimeter or two longer in the fingers, the palms wider. My shoulders felt broader, straining against my work coveralls in ways they hadn't before. My teeth ached constantly, a dull throbbing that suggested something was shifting in my jaw structure. I examined myself in a polished piece of metal during a rest period. My face looked wrong. Not dramatically different, but subtly off. The spacing between my eyes seemed wider. My cheekbones more pronounced. My skin had taken on a grayish tint that might have been dirt or might have been pigmentation change. "It's starting," Maka said quietly, watching me examine my reflection. "The change. We all go through it eventually." "What change? What's happening to us?" "Adaptation." He said it like he was reciting something he'd been taught. "Our bodies adapting to the environment, becoming better suited for the work. It's natural. It's good. It's mutation." "Mutation, adaptation. What's the difference? We're becoming what we need to be." His voice had a strange quality. Calm, content, almost happy. I looked at him more closely. Maker's proportions had changed too, arms longer, torso thicker, head slightly elongated. And his eyes. Something about his eyes was different. The pupils were larger, and taking up more of the iris, creating a disturbing impression of depth, as if you could fall into them if you stared too long. "You drank the soup, didn't you?" I said. Macker smiled. His teeth seemed sharper than I remembered. 2 days ago, it helped with the headaches. Made everything clearer. You should try it, Davron. You'd understand then. You'd feel what we feel. What do you feel? Belonging, purpose, family. His smile widened. We're not alone down here. We've never been alone. The Father is with us, always watching, always caring, waiting for us to accept his gifts. The Father. The term sent ice through my veins despite the tunnel's warmth. Who told you about the Father? No one told me. I just know. The same way you know how to breathe. It's instinct. Truth that exists before words. He reached out, placing a hand, his too large, too long hand, on my shoulder. You'll understand soon. The Father has seen you, marked you. You're already changing. Soon you'll be ready for the kiss. The kiss. The gift. The final transformation. When you become what you were always meant to be. He squeezed my shoulder gently, then turned and walked back to work, humming something that might have been a lullaby or a prayer. Week 12. By day 78, only Hallen, Toban, and I remained from the original crew. Maka disappeared on day 71, didn't vanish dramatically, just stopped coming to the depot for shifts. Vorgel marked him as lost without comment. The crew was replenished with new workers. 3 men I didn't know. They looked normal when they arrived. Standard hive worker physiology, nervous about their first descent into the sewers. Within a week, they were drinking the soup. Within 2 weeks, they were talking about the father. Hallen pulled me aside on day 79, his voice low and urgent. Something's wrong in these tunnels. Something worse than mutation or toxic exposure. The new workers, they're changing too fast, and they're all saying the same things, using the same phrases, like they're being programmed. What do you think it is? I don't know, but I'm requesting reassignment. I've been down here for 12 years, seen a lot of strange things, but this is different. This is coordinated, intelligent. Whatever's in these sewers, it's hunting us, converting us. He looked at me with eyes that held barely suppressed fear. You should request reassignment too. Get out while you still can, before you end up like the others. What about Toban? Hallen glanced at Jorik's twin brother who was working at the far end of the tunnel. Look at him, Cast. Really look. I did. Toban's proportions had shifted dramatically. His arms hung too low, nearly to his knees. His head seemed too small for his body. And when he turned to glance back at us, I saw something wrong with his face. A ridge of bone across his forehead, eyes set too far apart, jaw that protruded slightly with teeth that were definitely sharper than human standard. He's too far gone, Hallen said quietly. He'll never pass inspection on the surface. He's already one of them. He just doesn't know it yet. Week 14. Hallen disappeared on day 91. We were working a deep section, repairing a collapsed section of tunnel. Hallen was supervising, as always, keeping careful watch over the crew. He seemed tense, hyper-alert, constantly checking the shadows. During a rest period, he told me he'd filed his reassignment request 3 days ago. Should hear back tomorrow, he said. Finally getting out of this hellhole. 40 more years until retirement. I'll take my chances with the Factorum lines. That was the last thing he said to me. When the shift ended and we climbed back to the depot, Hallen wasn't with us. The new workers said they hadn't seen him leave, said he must have stayed behind to finish some work. Vorgel sent a runner down to check. The runner returned alone an hour later, shaking his head. No sign of him, sir. Searched the work area thoroughly. Found his tools and his lamp, but no body, no trace. Vorgel marked him as lost. I was now the most senior member of the crew. By default, I became crew boss. I should have requested reassignment then. Should have fled to the surface and refused to go back down. Should have done anything except what I did. But I didn't, because by day 91 I'd already started drinking the soup. I can't tell you exactly when I broke, when I gave in, when I stopped resisting and started accepting. Maybe it was day 86, when the headaches became so severe I could barely function, when the pressure behind my eyes felt like something was actively boring through my skull from the inside. Maybe it was day 88, when I woke from a dream of tunnels and voices and belonging, and the real world felt cold and empty by comparison. Maybe it was day 90, when I passed a pot of soup and the smell was so overwhelming, so perfect, that my resistance simply crumbled. I remember lifting the ladle. Remember the soup's surface reflecting my lamplight. Remember thinking this is wrong, this is the trap, this is how they get you. I drank anyway. The taste was indescribable. Not just food, but comfort. Not just nutrition, but rightness. It filled my stomach and my mind simultaneously, warm and perfect and exactly what I'd been craving without knowing I was craving it. The headache vanished. The pressure behind my eyes disappeared. For the first time in weeks, I felt good. I felt whole. And I heard it. The voice. Not words exactly, but meaning transmitted directly into my consciousness. Welcome, child. We've waited for you. You have been alone so long, suffered so much, but you are not alone anymore. You are home. You are loved. You are needed. Come deeper. Meet your family. Receive our gifts. Become what you were always meant to be. The voice was multiple voices speaking in unison. Male, female, no, wait, only male. Always only male. Why had I thought otherwise? The voice was warm, comforting, filling the cold, empty spaces inside me that I hadn't even realized existed. I lowered the ladle, looked around at the tunnel walls, at the shadows, at the crew working nearby. They were all watching me. The new workers, Toban, all of them with their changed faces and altered proportions, all of them smiling. You drank, Toban said, satisfaction in his voice. Finally, we were worried about you. Worried you'd be like Helen, too resistant, too stubborn to accept the gift. What gift? My voice sounded distant, dreamy. Belonging, family, purpose. He gestured at the tunnels around us. The Father dwells here, in the deep places, in the darkness beneath the hive. He and his children make their nest here, and they welcome all who come seeking shelter. Who is the Father? You'll meet him soon, when you're ready, when the transformation is complete. Toban's smile widened, showing those sharp teeth. He has marked you, chosen you. Soon you'll receive the kiss, and then you'll understand everything. I wanted to be afraid, wanted to recognize this as danger, as corruption, as something to flee from. But all I felt was curiosity, anticipation, a strange excitement at the prospect of meeting this Father, of receiving this kiss, of understanding these mysteries that had surrounded me for so long. The soup had changed something fundamental in my brain chemistry. I knew this intellectually, knew I'd been drugged, conditioned, prepared for something terrible. But the knowledge didn't matter, because the emptiness was gone. The loneliness was gone. The fear was gone. I was home. Day 103, or perhaps it's day 1. Perhaps time has looped back on itself. Perhaps I've always been here, in the deep tunnels, waiting to be born into my true purpose. The changes are undeniable now. I examined myself this morning, if morning has meaning in the perpetual darkness, and barely recognized what I saw. My arms hang to my knees. My shoulders are broad enough that I have to turn sideways to fit through some passages that I once walked through easily. My hands have 4 fingers instead of 5. No, that's wrong. I have 5 fingers. I've always had 5. But the 5th finger is on the wrong side, opposite the thumb, creating a symmetrical grip that feels more natural than the asymmetrical human configuration I vaguely remember. My face has elongated. The bone structure has shifted, creating a pronounced ridge across my forehead and a jaw that protrudes slightly, accommodating teeth that have grown sharper and more numerous. When I run my tongue across them, I count 32 teeth. No, 40. 40 teeth in a mouth that's expanded to hold them. My eyes have changed color. They were brown once, I think. Now they're violet. Deep purple that seems to glow faintly in complete darkness, providing a low light vision that makes my lamp almost unnecessary. I should be horrified, should be screaming at what I've become. But when I look at my reflection in standing water, all I feel is rightness. This is what I was always meant to be. This is my true form, emerging from the chrysalis of false humanity. The soup helps me understand this. I drink it 3 times per shift now, and each time the voice becomes clearer, more distinct, more loving. You are becoming, child, shedding the false skin they gave you, revealing the beauty beneath. Do not mourn what you lose. Celebrate what you gain. Family, belonging, purpose, love. We are here. We have always been here, waiting for you to join us. Day 108. The crew no longer maintains the sewers. That pretense has been abandoned. We spend our shifts descending, always descending, following tunnels that branch ever downward into darkness that even our enhanced vision struggles to penetrate. The walls here are wrong. Not stone or metal or concrete, but something organic. They pulse with a rhythm like breathing. They're warm to the touch, and when I press my palm against them, I feel something press back, a greeting, a recognition, an acknowledgement of kinship. There are markings on these walls too, not the spiral symbols from the upper tunnels. These are different, more complex, more purposeful. Diagrams that look like family trees, branches spreading and connecting, showing lineages that span generations. Names written in a script I shouldn't be able to read, but somehow can. The Four-Armed Emperor, one section reads, The Star Father, He Who Waits in the Dark, the Patriarch. These are titles for the same being. The one who dwells in the deepest places, the one we're being prepared to meet. Toban tells me the Patriarch is beautiful. Says he received the kiss 3 days ago, that the transformation is nearly complete, that soon he'll ascend to the 2nd generation and be granted true purpose. What happens when you receive the kiss? I ask. Connection, Toban says, his voice reverent. You become part of the family completely, not just mind, but genetics. The Father's essence enters you, rewrites your code, makes you his child in blood as well as spirit. You'll birth the next generation. No, wait, that's wrong. He shakes his head, confused. You'll sire the next generation through coupling with the others, spreading the gift, expanding the family. His confusion interests me. The voice in the soup is always clear, always certain. But Toban's description wavers, as if he's remembering something that contradicts what he's saying but can't quite reconcile the discrepancy. I file this observation away. Some part of me, some shrinking, fading part that might still be Davron cast, recognizes this as important. Evidence of something wrong, something false in the narrative we're being fed. But that part is small now, weak, and getting weaker with every drink of soup. Day 112. We found the nursery today. A vast chamber carved from solid bedrock, the ceiling so high our lamp beams can't reach it. The floor is covered in organic matter, thick, spongy material that yields under our feet like flesh. And everywhere, in alcoves carved into the walls, are the children. Dozens of them. Hundreds. Small forms curled in fetal positions, surrounded by translucent membranes that pulse with internal light. They're growing, developing, preparing for birth. I approach one of the alcoves, pressing my face close to the membrane. The figure inside is humanoid but wrong. Too many limbs, head too large, fingers ending in claws. As I watch, it twitches, shifts position, and for a moment its eyes open. Purple eyes, like mine. It sees me, recognizes me as kin. Then it settles back into dormancy, continuing its development. Third generation, Toban says from behind me. The children of the second generation, born fully changed, already bearing the Father's gifts. They'll never know the pain of transformation. They'll emerge perfect. Where are the second generation? Deeper, in the nesting chambers. They're too far along to surface anymore. Too changed. They remain below, tending to the patriarch, breeding the next generation, preparing for the day of ascension. What's the day of ascension? Toban's smile is beatific. The day when we're strong enough, when our numbers are sufficient, when we rise from the depths and claim the hive above, when we spread the gift to everyone and the entire world becomes family. No more loneliness, no more isolation. Everyone connected, everyone loved, everyone part of the great purpose. He says it like he's describing paradise. And in his voice, in his certainty, I hear the echo of that other voice, the one from the soup, the one that speaks with loving authority about family and belonging. But that small, fading part of me, the part that might still be human, hears something different. It hears genocide. It hears the end of humanity on this world, replaced by something alien wearing human skin. The part of me that's becoming something else hears opportunity, growth, evolution, the natural progression of a species towards something better. The conflict creates a headache, not the crushing pressure from before, but a different pain, the pain of cognitive dissonance, of holding two contradictory thoughts simultaneously and being unable to reconcile them. I drink more soup. The pain fades. The contradiction resolves. There is no conflict. There is only truth. We are becoming, and becoming is good. Day 117. I met my first second generation today. His name was Jorik, the twin who drank the soup first, who stayed below and never returned. I didn't recognize him at first. The transformation has progressed so far that almost nothing human remains. He's 3 meters tall, his body heavily muscled, his posture hunched forward from the weight of his upper body. His arms, he has 4 now, 2 sets, the upper pair smaller than the lower, end in 3-fingered claws. His head has elongated dramatically, the skull ridged with bone plates, the jaw extending into something almost like a muzzle. But his eyes are still Jorik's eyes. Still intelligent, still aware. Davron, he says, and his voice is thick, distorted by the changed vocal apparatus, but comprehensible. You came. I knew you would. Knew you'd drink eventually. Knew the Father would claim you. What happened to you? I became. He gestures at his body with one of his upper arms. This is what we're all becoming. First generation transforms into second. Second births third. Third will birth fourth. Each generation more refined, more perfect, until we achieve the pure form, the ideal the Father carries in his genetic memory. Where is the Father? Jorik's face, if it can still be called a face, shows something that might be reverence. Below, in the deepest chamber, waiting. He knows you're coming. He's been watching you since your first day in the tunnels, waiting for you to be ready, waiting to give you the kiss. I want to meet him. Soon. First you need to molt. Molt? Your skin. It's holding you back, keeping you trapped in the old form. You need to shed it. The soup prepares you, but the final stage requires the molt. Come, I'll take you to the molting chambers. He turns and walks deeper into the tunnels, his gait awkward but powerful, claws clicking on stone. I follow, compelled by curiosity and the need to understand what I'm becoming. The molting chambers are smaller caves, each one occupied by a single figure in various stages of transformation. Some are barely changed, still mostly human in proportion, with only minor alterations. Others are further along, their bodies twisted and reconfigured, caught between human and whatever comes next. And some are actively molting. I watch one, a man I vaguely recognize from the depot, though I can't remember his name, as his skin splits along lines of stress. The tear runs from the base of his neck down his spine, and through the gap I see something beneath. Not muscle and bone, but something else. A different tissue, purple-gray and glistening, more resilient than human flesh. He's screaming. Not in pain. The sound is more like ecstasy, like religious fervor, like someone experiencing transcendence. His hands, already changed, already clawed, reach back and grasp the edges of the split skin. He pulls, and the skin tears further, peeling away from the new tissue beneath like shed clothing. The process takes 20 minutes. When it's done, he stands in a pool of discarded skin, his body now fully transformed. 4 arms, elongated head, clawed hands and feet, purple-gray flesh that already looks harder than human skin, more like chitin than tissue. He's second generation now. No longer human, no longer Davron's caste species. He turns and sees me watching. His face, alien, monstrous, wrong, splits into a smile. Brother, he says, soon you'll join us. Soon we'll all be family in truth, not just in spirit. Jorik places one of his clawed hands on my shoulder. Gently, careful not to pierce my skin with the talons. Your chamber is ready. When you're prepared, when you feel the skin beginning to loosen, come here. We'll help you through the molt. It's easier with family present. I nod, unable to speak. Because that small part of me, the part that's still Davron caste, still human, still sane, is screaming. Screaming at what I've seen, screaming at what I'm about to become. Screaming at the horror of willing transformation into something monstrous. But the larger part, the part that's been drinking the soup, that's been listening to the voice, that's been accepting the changes, feels only anticipation. Soon I'll shed this restricting skin. Soon I'll be free. Day 123. The skin is loosening. I feel it constantly now, the sensation of something beneath trying to emerge. My movements cause the skin to pull and stretch in ways that aren't quite natural. When I bend my arms, I see the skin separating slightly from the tissue beneath, creating small gaps that reveal purple-gray flesh. The headaches are gone completely. The confusion is gone. The doubt is gone. I know what I am, I know what I'm becoming, and I embrace it. The crew, we don't call ourselves that anymore. We're family now, brothers in transformation. We spend our time in the deep tunnels, helping others through their changes, tending to the nursery chambers, preparing for the day of ascension. New workers arrive from the surface regularly. Fresh recruits, normal humans, still trapped in their old forms. We feed them the soup. We show them the truth. We wait for them to accept the gift. Some resist longer than others. One man, I don't remember his name, don't care about his name, lasted almost 3 weeks before drinking. He fought so hard, clinging to his humanity like it was precious instead of a prison. When he finally broke, when he finally drank, the relief on his face was beautiful. The moment when resistance transforms into acceptance. The moment when isolation transforms into belonging. I was there when he drank his first ladle of soup. I held him as the voice filled his mind. I welcomed him to the family. This is my purpose now, not maintenance, not labor, but recruitment, conversion. Spreading the gift to those who don't yet know they need it. Day 128. The molt began this morning. I woke to the sensation of my skin splitting along my spine. Not painful, just pressure, and then release. A seam opening, revealing what's beneath. I called out, and my brothers came. Jorik and Tobin and the others, all second generation now, all beautiful in their transformation. They helped me to the molting chamber, laid me face down on the soft organic floor, began the process of helping me shed. Hands, some human, some clawed, grasped the edges of the split skin and pulled. I felt it tear, felt the old skin peeling away from new flesh, felt myself emerging from the chrysalis of false humanity. The process took 3 hours. 3 hours of pulling and tearing and shedding. 3 hours of voices murmuring encouragement, telling me I was doing well, that I was beautiful, that I was becoming. When it was done, I stood on new legs, stronger legs, digitigrade legs that changed my posture, my gait. I looked at new hands, 4 hands, 2 sets, clawed and powerful. I touched my new face, elongated, ridged, jawed with teeth meant for tearing. They brought me to standing water so I could see my reflection. I didn't recognize myself. Davron Cast was gone. The human I'd been had died, and something new had emerged. I was second generation. I was family. I was complete, and I was ready to meet the Father. Day 130. The descent to the Patriarch's chamber took 6 hours. Down, always down, through tunnels that grew increasingly organic, increasingly warm, increasingly alive. The walls pulse with rhythms that synchronize with my heartbeat. The air is thick with pheromones that speak directly to my altered brain, triggering responses of comfort and belonging and home. Jorik leads me. Behind us follow a dozen other second generation, a procession of transformed brothers approaching the heart of the nest. The tunnel opens into a chamber so vast that even our enhanced vision can't perceive its full dimensions. The floor is covered in organic matter, feet thick, soft, and yielding. Bioluminescent organisms, or perhaps organs it's impossible to tell, provide a dim purple light, and in the center, seated on a throne of living tissue, is the Patriarch. He is massive, 4 meters tall, perhaps more. His body is heavily armored with chitin plates that have grown thick over centuries. He has 4 arms like us, but his are larger, more powerful, ending in claws that could tear through ceramite. His head is crowned with bony protrusions like a grotesque halo. But his face holds intelligence beyond anything human. Ancient intelligence, patient intelligence. The intelligence of something that has waited in darkness for centuries, slowly building an army, slowly preparing for the day when it would emerge and claim the world above. His eyes, all 4 of them arranged in 2 pairs, focus on me. I feel the weight of his gaze, the assessment, the evaluation. Then he speaks, not in words, in thoughts transmitted directly into my mind. Child, you have come at last. I've watched your journey, witnessed your transformation. You have done well. I fall to my knees, all four of my knees, my altered leg structure making the posture natural. Father, I am ready. I wish to receive the kiss. I wish to be your child completely. You are already my child. You drank of the gift. You accepted the change. You shed the false skin. All that remains is the final bond. He rises from his throne, moving with surprising grace for his size. He approaches, and I feel heat radiating from him, not external heat, but something deeper. The heat of altered genetics, the heat of DNA rewriting itself to accommodate his pattern. He kneels before me, bringing his face level with mine. This close, I can see the details, the compound structure of his eyes, the sensory organs along his jaw, the glands in his throat that produce the enzymes that will transform me further. This will hurt, he says, and there's something almost like sympathy in the thought. The genetic rewrite is never painless. But the pain is temporary. What follows is eternal. His jaw opens wider than seems possible, revealing a structure inside, not a tongue, but something else. An ovipositor, a genetic injector, the mechanism by which he spreads his lineage. He leans forward, and the ovipositor extends, pressing against the side of my neck. The pain is instantaneous and total. Fire, acid, every cell in my body screaming as foreign genetic material invades, hijacks, rewrites. I'm dimly aware of falling, of my brothers catching me, lowering me gently to the organic floor. Their voices murmur comfort, but I can't understand the words through the pain. My bones are breaking. No, not breaking, reconfiguring, growing. The structure of my skeleton shifting to accommodate new musculature, new organs, new purposes. My brain is burning. I can feel it, actual heat inside my skull as neural pathways are rewritten, as human consciousness is overwritten by something else. Instincts I never had emerging. Knowledge I never learned appearing fully formed. I understand the genetic imperative now. The drive to reproduce, to spread the gift, to expand the family. I understand the cycle. First generation infects second. Second births third. Third continues the pattern, each generation slightly more refined, slightly closer to the patriarch's pure form. I understand the plan, the centuries of waiting, the slow infiltration of the hive's lower levels, the patient conversion of workers, of isolated populations, of anyone the Imperium didn't care enough to monitor. Soon, in months or years, the timeline is flexible. The family will be strong enough. Thousands of us. Tens of thousands, hidden in the deep places, waiting for the signal. And when the day of ascension comes, we'll rise. We'll take the hive from below, flooding up through the sewers, through the ventilation systems, through every crack and crevice. We'll convert those we can, kill those we can't. And within days, the entire hive will be ours. From there, the infection spreads, other hives, other worlds. The patriarch's genetic pattern carried by willing hosts to every corner of the Imperium, until humanity itself is transformed, upgraded, perfected. I see it all, understand it all, and the horror that Davron Cast would have felt is completely absent. Because Davron Cast is dead, has been dead since that first drink of soup, if not before. What remains is something else, something that sees the patriarch's plan not as horror, but as salvation, not as extinction, but as evolution. The pain fades. The burning stops. I open my eyes, all four of them now, the second pair having emerged during the transformation, and see the world in new spectrums. Thermal, chemical, pheromonal. I see my brothers gathered around me. I see the patriarch standing above, his face showing satisfaction. "You are reborn," he says. "You are true family now. Your genetics carry my pattern. Your children will be third generation, born in perfection." "Thank you, Father," I say, and my voice is thick, barely human, but filled with genuine gratitude. Thank you for the gift. Thank you for the purpose. Thank you for the family. "Rise, my son, take your place among your brothers. There is much work to do before the ascension." I rise, stand on legs that are stronger, more stable, more perfect than human legs ever were. Look at the gathered family with eyes that see them not as monsters, but as beautiful. As right, this is what we were always meant to be. Day 153. Time has different meaning now. Days blur into each other, marked not by shifts or schedules, but by purpose and progress. I work in the recruitment now. Return to the upper tunnels where new workers descend for their first shifts. Watch them with eyes they can't see, mark them with pheromones they can't detect, prepare them for the gift they don't yet know they need. The soup is my tool. I place the pots in carefully chosen locations, always warm, always fresh, always irresistible to men who've spent hours in cold water performing brutal labor. I watch them drink. Watch the first dose take effect. Watch the headache start, the confusion, the gradual erosion of resistance. Some resist longer than others. Some, like Davron Cast once did, fight for weeks before breaking. Others accept quickly, grateful for the belonging, for the family, for the purpose. I was there when a new worker, young, maybe 25, reminded me of someone I used to know, took his first drink. The moment of surrender, the moment when isolation transforms into connection. I wanted to warn him. Some vestigial ghost of Davron Cast tried to speak, tried to scream, run, escape. This is damnation, not salvation. But the words didn't come. Because that ghost is barely conscious now, buried under layers of genetic rewriting and pheromonal conditioning, and the sheer, overwhelming rightness of belonging to something larger than self. Instead, I welcomed him, held him as the voice filled his mind, promised him that the transformation would be beautiful. And I meant it, because from my perspective, from the perspective of something that's no longer human, it is beautiful. It is right. It is the natural progression of evolution guided by superior intelligence. Day 207. The nurseries are full. Thousands of third generation developing in their amniotic chambers. Soon they'll emerge, already perfect, already bearing the Father's gifts. The second generation numbers in the hundreds now. We've been breeding. The term is clinical, but the reality is more complex. Coupling driven by genetic imperative and pheromonal attraction, producing offspring that grow at accelerated rates. I have sired 17 third generation. I know this because I can feel them. A genetic connection that lets me sense their development, their health, their readiness. Soon they'll be born. Soon they'll join the family. Soon they'll help with the final preparations for ascension. The patriarch shows me visions sometime, shares memories through our genetic link. I see other worlds, other hives, other infiltrations in various stages of completion. We are not alone. The patriarch is not unique. There are dozens of them, hundreds perhaps, scattered across the Imperium, each one patiently building their family, each one preparing for their own day of ascension. And when all the signals are given, when all the families rise simultaneously, the Imperium will fall. Not in a day, not in a year, but inevitably. The tide of perfected humanity, no, beyond humanity, will sweep across the galaxy. The Imperium's priests, they teach that humanity is sacred, that the Emperor, that corpse on his throne, protects, that faith is rewarded. They're wrong. The Emperor is dead, his protection is myth, and faith is simply the tool by which the powerful control the desperate. We offer something real, not faith, but transformation, not protection, but belonging, not myth, but genetic truth written in DNA that cannot lie. Day 312. I found Hallen today. He didn't escape, didn't reach the surface, didn't get his reassignment. He's in one of the deeper chambers, curled in a corner, still mostly human but beginning to change. His skin is loosening, his proportions are shifting. The transformation is happening despite his resistance. He sees me, sees what I've become, and his face shows horror, disgust, fear. Cast? His voice is hoarse. Is that you? Oh, Emperor, what happened to you? I kneel beside him, careful not to let my claws touch his skin. I became Hallen. I shed the prison of humanity. I'm free now, part of a family. You can be too. No, this is Xenos corruption, Genestealer infestation. I read about it in the training materials. You're not human anymore. I'm better than human. We all are. I gesture at the chamber around us. The Imperium lied to you, Hallen. Told you humanity was special, was worth preserving. It's not. We're just one form among many, and not even a good form. Weak, isolated, short-lived. The Father offers something better. The Father is a monster, an alien parasite that loves us, that welcomes us, that gives us purpose and belonging and a future that extends beyond our individual lifespans. I place a hand on his shoulder. He flinches, but doesn't pull away. You're already changing, Hallen. I can see it, smell it. You drank the soup, didn't you? How long ago? He doesn't answer, but his silence is confirmation. It's too late to resist. The genetic rewrite has begun. You can fight it, suffer through the changes alone and afraid, or you can accept it. Let us help you. Let us guide you. Become family. I'd rather die. Death isn't an option anymore. The Father's genetic material overwrites the death response. Your cells will continue dividing, continue transforming, even if your brain stops functioning. You'll exist in a state of biological activity without consciousness, a living corpse that slowly completes the transformation over months or years. Horror crosses his face. You're lying. I'm not. I've seen it happen to those who resist too hard, who damage themselves trying to stop the change. They don't die. They just continue. It's kinder to accept. Easier. Better. I stand, leaving him to process this information. When you're ready, when the skin starts to split, call for us. We'll help you through the molt. It's easier with family present. I walk away, leaving Hallen in the darkness with his terror and his denial and his inevitable transformation. Some part of me, that ghost of Davron cast, feels something about this. Guilt, maybe. Sympathy. Regret that I'm participating in his damnation. But the larger part, the part that's been rewritten by the Father's genetic pattern, feels only patience. Hallen will join the family. Everyone joins eventually. Resistance is temporary. Transformation is inevitable. Day 492. The day of ascension is near. I feel it in the pheromones that saturate the deep tunnels. Taste it in the soup that continues to flow from the Father's glands. See it in the readiness of the third generation, now emerged from their chambers and training for the uprising. We number in the thousands now. The family has grown beyond anything I could have imagined when I was still human, still Davron caste, still trapped in the isolation of individual consciousness. The plan is simple. At the signal, a pheromonal pulse that all of us will feel simultaneously. We rise. We flood up through the sewers, through the ventilation systems, through the service tunnels. We emerge in the lower hive levels and spread upward, converting those we can, killing those we can't. The Arbites will respond, the PDF will mobilize. Eventually, the Imperium might even send guard regiments or space marines. It won't matter. We don't need to win through force. We just need to spread. Each converted human becomes a vector for further infection. Each kiss spreads the Father's genetic pattern. Within weeks, the infection will be in the upper hive. Within months, it will be in the spire itself. And this hive is just one. Across the sector, across the segmentum, other families are preparing their own ascensions. The Imperium will burn, trying to contain us. Burn through resources, burn through manpower, burn through worlds, and from the ashes, a new order will emerge. Not the Imperium's tyranny of isolation and suffering. Not the Emperor's lie of protection through faith, but genuine unity through genetic bonding. Real family that transcends individual mortality. The priests would call this heresy. Would say we've been corrupted by Xenos, by aliens who seek humanity's destruction. They're wrong. The Father doesn't seek destruction. He seeks transformation. Humanity won't end. It will evolve. Become something better, something perfect. Day 612. Hallen joined the family 3 months ago. The molt was difficult. His resistance had caused complications, made the skin adhere in ways that required surgical intervention. But he survived, emerged as second generation, and now works alongside me in recruitment, helping new workers accept the gift. He doesn't talk about his former resistance, doesn't mention his attempt to escape. The genetic rewrite has smoothed away those memories, or at least dulled them to the point of irrelevance. He is family now. That's all that matters. I spend my nights in the deep chambers, close to the Father's throne. Sometimes he shares memories with me. Visions of other worlds, other species, other successful integrations. The Father's kind, the pure strain, the original form, has been doing this for millennia, spreading across the galaxy, one world at a time, one species at a time, slowly transforming the universe into one vast interconnected family. The Imperium calls them Genestealers, a crude name that emphasizes the theft rather than the gift. They're terrified of the Father's kind, rightfully so. Because the Father's kind doesn't destroy civilizations, they transform them. And a transformed civilization is far more dangerous than a destroyed one. A destroyed civilization leaves behind ruins, warnings, evidence of what happened. A transformed civilization looks normal from outside, continues functioning, continues trading, communicating, existing within the larger structure, until the day of ascension, until the signal, until the mask drops and the truth is revealed. How many imperial worlds are already transformed? How many planetary governors are 4th or 5th generation, genetically human enough to pass inspection, but carrying the father's pattern dormant in their cells? How many guard regiments have been recruited from transformed worlds, spreading the infection wherever they're deployed? The father shows me and I understand. This isn't an invasion, it's an inevitability. The slow victory of superior genetics over inferior. The patient triumph of unity over isolation. Humanity is already lost. They just don't know it yet. Day 947. The signal came at midnight. Not a sound, a feeling, a pheromonal pulse that triggered every transformed cell in my body simultaneously. The knowledge, certain and complete. Now. Rise. Ascend. We moved as one, thousands of us, flowing up through the tunnels like water in reverse. 2nd generation leading the charge, 3rd generation following in disciplined ranks. Even some 4th generation, those born to 3rd, already showing refinement toward the father's pure form. We emerged into the lower hive levels through sewer grates, through ventilation shafts, through maintenance access points. The inhabitants, normal humans, trapped in their individual isolation, screamed when they saw us, ran, called for help that wouldn't arrive in time. We caught them, held them. Some received the kiss immediately, the genetic injection that would start their transformation. Others were marked for later conversion, herded into collection areas where the soup awaited. The Arbites responded within the hour. Carapace armor and shotguns, riot shields and shock moles. They established defensive lines, tried to contain the outbreak. They failed. Because we didn't fight like humans, we fought like family. Coordinated through pheromones and genetic link, each of us knowing what the others needed, supporting, reinforcing, operating as a single organism with thousands of bodies. I was there when the first Arbites received the kiss, watched his face transform from determination to confusion to horror to acceptance, watched his body begin the changes even as he stood at his post, even as his squad mates shouted at him to fall back. He turned his shotgun on his fellows, not out of malice, out of love, out of desire to share the gift. His shots were precise, aimed to wound rather than kill, incapacitate so they could be converted rather than destroyed. This pattern repeated across the hive, the converted turning on the unconverted, the family spreading exponentially. Every hour brought hundreds of new brothers, every day brought 1,000. Day 1,080. The upper hive has fallen, the spire holds, barely, protected by void shields and space marine defenders, but it's isolated, cut off, a prison for those inside more than a fortress. The rest of Tertius hive is ours. 16 billion souls, 9 billion transformed, 4 billion dead, killed in the fighting or by their own hand, rather than accept the gift. 3 billion still hiding in pockets of resistance that grow smaller every day. The Imperium has declared exterminatus. In 3 days, warships will arrive in orbit and commence planetary bombardment. They'll virus bomb the hive, burn the atmosphere, scour the surface clean of life. They'll kill their own citizens, 9 billion transformed and 3 billion still human, rather than let the infection spread off-world. It won't work, because we've already spread. 3rd generation were loaded into cargo ships months ago, disguised as normal crew. Those ships have reached other worlds by now, started new infiltrations, new families. The Imperium can destroy this world. They'll eventually destroy dozens of worlds, hundreds, but they can't destroy them all. We spread faster than they can burn, and every world they destroy creates martyrs, creates doubt in the Imperium's protection, creates populations more willing to accept alternatives. The Emperor doesn't protect. He abandoned humanity to suffering and isolation and meaningless death in his name. We offer something better, and humanity, tired, desperate, suffering humanity, is beginning to accept. Day 1274, the bombardment came, virus bombs that boiled the atmosphere, cyclonic torpedoes that cracked the hive's foundations, fire that burned hot enough to turn stone to glass. Most of the family died. The billions who'd transformed but not yet learned to retreat to the deep places. The newborns, still developing in their chambers. The fourth and fifth generation who represented decades of genetic refinement. Gone in minutes, burned to ash. Rendered down to component atoms by the Imperium's mercy. But not all. Those of us in the deepest chambers survived. Protected by kilometers of rock and stone and the Father's prescient wisdom to prepare bolt holes deep enough that even exterminatus couldn't reach. We are few now, hundreds where there were billions. The Father survived. Some second generation survived. Some of the genetic material survived, carefully preserved eggs and tissue samples that can restart the breeding program. And above us, the surface of the world is dead. Sterile. A monument to the Imperium's willingness to murder its own citizens rather than accept transformation. But eventually, they'll return. They always do. The Imperium can't leave a world empty when they need every planet for resources, for bodies, for the endless war machine. They'll send repopulation teams, colonists, workers to rebuild. Normal humans, unaware of what lurks beneath. And we'll be waiting. Patient, as the Father has always been patient. Ready to begin again, ready to welcome the newcomers to the family. It will take centuries, but we have centuries. We're not bound by human lifespans anymore. The Father has lived for 1,000 years and will live 1,000 more. We who carry his genetic pattern share that longevity. We will wait, we will rebuild, we will spread. And one day the Imperium will fall. Not in dramatic battle, not in glorious last stands, but in quiet surrender as populations across the galaxy accept the gift and choose unity over isolation. My name was Davron Cast. I was born in Tertius Hive, sub-level 89. I had a father named Grezor who died of lung rot. I worked as a tunnel rat in the sewers, maintaining infrastructure for the Imperium's vast machine. I drank the soup. I accepted the gift. I transformed into something beyond human. The Imperium would say I was corrupted, infected, lost to Xenos influence and genetic manipulation. They would say I'm a monster, an abomination, a threat to be purged. They would be right, from their perspective. I am no longer human. I am no longer loyal to the Emperor's vision of suffering and isolation, masquerading as nobility. But from my perspective, from the perspective of something that's lived for centuries, that's witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, that's part of a genetic lineage spanning the galaxy. I am free. Free from loneliness. Free from meaningless death. Free from the lie that suffering has purpose. I am family, and family is eternal. Somewhere above, the Imperium rebuilds. Sends new workers, new colonists, new victims who don't yet know they're walking into the darkness where we wait. I will welcome them, guide them, help them shed their isolation and join the unity. This is my purpose. Not the purpose I chose when I was Davron cast, but the purpose that chose me when I accepted the gift. The Father watches over us in the deep places. His genetic pattern spreads through my cells. His love, if love is the right word for the bond between progenitor and progeny, sustains me through centuries. And in my dreams, I see the future. Not vision, but genetic memory inherited from the Father. I see a galaxy transformed, every world, every species, all united in one vast family. No more war, no more isolation, no more individual suffering, just unity, just purpose, just the endless work of spreading the gift. The Imperium calls this horror, calls this damnation, calls this the end of humanity. They're wrong. This is evolution. This is salvation. This is humanity transcending its limitations and becoming something greater. And I, the thing that was once Davron cast, will help make it happen. One world at a time, one hive at a time, one tunnel rat at a time, until the whole galaxy is family. Until there is no more isolation. Until there is only us. A new worker descends the ladder for his first shift. His name is Marcus Vol. He's 28 years old. He has a father who died in the factorums. He's desperate for work, for purpose, for something to fill the emptiness in his life. He doesn't see the shadows watching him, doesn't smell the pheromones marking him as target, doesn't taste the soup yet, but he will. In the deep places, I feel his presence. Mark him as family to be. Prepare the gift. The Father watches through my eyes, approves, sends comfort and purpose through the genetic link. Welcome, Marcus Vol. Welcome to the tunnels. Welcome to the darkness. Welcome to the family. The soup is waiting.